inflation is rapidly climbing. It's 7.9% officially, here in the United States. And this is the center of the Cantillon effect. So everywhere outside the United States, obviously, it gets the ripple of inflation even worse there.
Yeah.
And so, this is the beginning of the shock wave.
I'm 99% sure now that that's what's just happened. We're entering a secular bear market for bonds. That means that interest rates will be going up for the next 5, 10, or 15 years.
Welcome to Dream Richer. Today, Max Keiser predicts why he believes Bitcoin is the one true safe haven for all crypto investments. He even goes as far as to say that Bitcoin is indeed a standalone religion with three main factors that control it. As he argues, hyperinflation in the United States won't only affect the local residents, but end up affecting non-US residents even worse. If and when hyperinflation hits, there are 5 major things that will take place. Number 1. It will erode purchasing power. This effect of inflation is really just a different way of stating what it is. Inflation is a decrease in the purchasing power of currency due to a rise in prices across the economy. Just look back over the past years. The average price of a cup of coffee was a dime. Today, the price is closer to $3. Secondly, it encourages more spending. Investing, a predictable response to declining purchasing power, is to buy now rather than later. Cash will only lose value, so it is better to get your shopping out of the way and stock up on things that probably won't lose value. Thirdly, it will cause more inflation. Number 4, it will raise the cost of borrowing. And finally, number 5, it will increase unemployment. If you like the video, then don't forget to subscribe. Let's get right into it.
But President Bukele had a press conference. It was an emergency sort of press conference about the economic situation as inflation is rapidly climbing. It's 7.9% officially, here in the United States. And this is the center of the Cantillon effect. So everywhere outside the United States, obviously, it gets the ripple of inflation even worse there.
Yeah.
And so, this is the beginning of the shock waves of not only all the money printing that's been going on for the last 2 years, but obviously on top of that, the supply crunch from the lockdowns, and now an extraordinary lockdown situation of global war, right? A huge hot conflict, and the response to that has resulted in an extraordinary supply shock, and will only, we don't know. These are the first ripples, so we don't know how far and deep these waves are going to get.
The U.S. dollar is a world reserve currency since the end of World War II, so-called 75 years. You had the U.S. dollar as world reserve currency. Since 1971, it became a Ponzi scheme, and the theme of extend and pretend became the dominant force in the global economy, where all problems were solved by printing more money and extending the maturity of all the bonds and lowering the coupon. So anyway, the bond market, which is the Ponzi market base layer, after many, many years talking about when will the bond market finally roll over and we enter a secular bear market for bonds, I think I'm 99% sure now that that's what's just happened. We're entering a secular bear market for bonds. That means that interest rates will be going up for the next 5, 10, or 15 years.
You and I have talked about this, in all of our content, is that interest rates went negative for the first time in several thousand years. And time had never not had a value. So that was the first warning sign that we had gone over some sort of event horizon in which spaghettification and distortion of all the physics of culture and life and society that we had known was going to disintegrate. Then we had, a year ago, we had negative oil, maybe it was 2 years ago, negative oil prices when it went negative 37 or negative 27. Again, never in the history of our known Earth have we had a negative energy prices, because we're also living in a world of perfect game theory, right? With Bitcoin. So we're like becoming more and more rational because of Bitcoin, because the game theory always is perfect and it always works. And then you look out into the fiat world where the spaghettification is happening and none of it makes sense. So like they keep on astounding us here in this family unit, this tribal unit of Bitcoin.
Right. Well, there was a school of thought that suggested that the U.S. dollar would continue as world reserve currency and that the Bitcoin would be the world reserve asset. And I never bought into that theory. I questioned it. I just didn't see that happening. It seems to me that Bitcoin was going to eat all the fiat money world in the world, and it was going to eat gold, and it was going to eat all assets. And so when you have the rise of Bitcoin and you have the fall of fiat, that fall of fiat is going to be everything attached to fiat. The petrodollar is certainly attached to fiat. The military-industrial complex is attached to fiat. The global bond market is attached to fiat. So when these things crack and they fall apart, it's going to be kinetic, very kinetic. And people are going to be like, bang, 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 shooting at each other because, this is revert to human nature, which is one of the biggest cycles of all. Human nature is something that you can't really escape from.
In the words of Max Keiser, we have just entered into a secular bear market for bonds. A secular bear market can last anywhere from 10 to 20 years and is characterized by below-average returns on a sustained basis. There may be rallies within secular bear markets where stocks or indexes rally for a period, but the gains are not sustained and prices revert to lower levels. As Mr. Keiser argues, we are about to see interest rates start to increase. Bond prices have an inverse relationship with interest rates. This means that when interest rates go up, bond prices go down, and when interest rates go down, bond prices go up. So when the interest rates start to increase during this bear market, the price and demand of bonds will fall. Hence, issuers of new bonds will be forced to offer higher yields to attract buyers and reduce the value of bond market.
So I'm this is the fall of fiat money. True. I mean, El Salvador was the spark, the Bitcoin spark, and it's starting a revolution, and it's spreading to Latin America. We see it in Africa. There's a revolution going on. There's a huge power shift, right? So the U.S. and Great Britain and maybe some European powers and others are going to lose power. I mean, that's and some other powers are going to rise up. But it's that's just the cycle. That's one of the cycles, and it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but it's happening. So at some level, it's making some sense on some level. We're in a new reality, folks. It's a new reality. So, it's time to make the adjustments to this new reality.
That Bitcoin is peace, okay?
Right.
And the language of Bitcoin is Spanish. So there's a certain
so you have a mustache.
Latinx, if you want to say, Latino sort of vibe to this whole thing, right? So that's my interpretation. When I look at it, I think, you know what? Bitcoin is peace, and peace is coming. This is going to be
Bitcoin
a short.
Demonetizes war and hatred.
Yes,
for sure. But it's not going to happen. Obviously, this week or next month. It's going to. You still have a few battles to fight and win.
Yeah. Well, the old saying used to be, if there's no two nations with a McDonald's will go to war.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's no two people with Bitcoin will go to war, right?
Right.
Because they have a low time preference. They believe in the future. And we're all a family.
It's unconfiscatable.
And it's unconfiscatable.
It's the upside to beating somebody up for their Bitcoin is very low because it's unconfiscatable. So you have to come at them with something else to get their Bitcoin, something value for value. You will help them fix their roof and they'll get some Bitcoin. You can't just hit them on the head with a hammer and steal their Bitcoin. So that process is going to take some time. Those who fight it will be be stuck in the fiat world, and they're never going to make it. But that's where we're at right now. So you've got Bitcoin has essentially thrown the gauntlet down and said, either you're with Bitcoin or you're against Bitcoin. If you're against Bitcoin, prepare to reap the whirlwind of your stupidity. If you're with Bitcoin, prepare for relentless optimism.
But also, like, for me, and I think most people feel like this, is like when you meet a Bitcoiner, you feel like that is your first connection, right? Like, I feel more connected to somebody because they're a Bitcoiner than if they're American or a woman or from Connecticut or like wherever, any other thing that has been part of my life, like I feel most connected to a Bitcoiner. So I feel more connected to a Bitcoiner in El Salvador or Nigeria or Bolivia or Mexico.
Right. Well,
or,
to that extent,
Ukraine,
it has certain characteristics of a religion. That's why some people say, "Oh, you guys are in a cult. You guys are
tribe.
a religion, or a tribal reference." And so with Bitcoin, the values are consistent throughout the entire tribe or the entire community of unconfiscatable, uncensorable, immutable wealth. I mean, those three kind of phrases are like the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost in Christianity. There are three things that everyone in Christianity accepts if they're a Christian. Okay. There are three things that everyone in the Bitcoin community accepts: unconfiscatability, immutability, uncensorability. That's three things we accept as being true, and therefore that offers a communion when you meet other people. So that's absolutely true. And it's because it's perfect money and you have perfect price discovery, it means it's going to win.
It's so weird. I really still find it weird. When I see people asking about why do you think the price is down or so low? And just alter your time preference. Maybe just,
Look,
become
if you're
part
on
of
the Titanic, and so what's the price of lifeboats? In the beginning of the sinking of the Titanic, the price of a lifeboat was $500 a lifeboat. As the water started rising in the Titanic, the price of a lifeboat went to infinity. So it just depends on when you want to get on that lifeboat. You can get on it today for $39,000 or $40,000, or you can get on it, or you can never get on it and just sink. And maybe James Cameron will make a movie about you in 100 years' time.
It's clear from Max Keiser's prediction that Bitcoin is here to stay. If anything, it will continue to appreciate in value until it hits infinity. The fall of the fiat dollar is closer than we think. Hence, the best solution for all is to remain invested in Bitcoin. As Max Keiser explains, Bitcoin is distinguished from all other assets, including other altcoins like Ethereum, because it runs on three ground principles. Number 1. It is unconfiscatable, meaning it cannot be taken away from you unless you decide to share your seed phrase. Number 2. Bitcoin is immutable and its protocol cannot be changed to suit certain individuals in power. And finally, number 3. Bitcoin is uncensored, meaning it is unbiased and cannot be controlled. Do you think regulation could counteract these three named benefits? Do you agree with what he said? Let us know in comments below. See you in the next video.